Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. Tonight, forget BMWs and iPads and jewelry. You want to know what the next luxury item is? Believe it or not, orange juice. Tonight I want to ask you this question. What did you tell Washington to do in November? Did you tell them to increase or decrease the debt? Did you tell them to increase or decrease taxes? Increase or decrease spending? It was pretty clear what Americans said last November. Have Americans forgotten? Or has Washington? I'll explain. Come on, let's go. Hello, America. There is something I want you to consider tonight. The president's budget. Has the country, or any country, ever devalued its way to economic prosperity? That you have to answer. I hope so, because that is the path our government is taking us down. I've been warning for years that our current fiscal path is unsustainable. I said this under George W. Bush, and I was mocked and called a fearmonger, and conservatives told me, oh, you're just trying to lose the election for George W. Bush, and it was nonsense then, and it's nonsense now from the left. It's an unsustainable path. People in Washington on the left used to say it until they got into power. People on the right used to say it until they got into power. It's a political talking point. It's not. It's reality. And you get that. The American people understand that. Another thing I've been harping on is to prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. I know it's controversial. It's almost like what our grandparents used to do. By the way, did you see that New York City and state has released an entire guide on what to do in case of a total meltdown? Do we have it here or not? We'll show it to you in a minute. It's pretty amazing. Yeah. Oh, the fearmongers. Or are they just preparing on what to do in case? How about the governor of Wisconsin? He's now telling the National Guard to prepare for civil unrest in Wisconsin. What a fearmonger. Or is he being responsible and preparing? More on that coming up in a few minutes. All the experts and the politicians keep trying to soothe Americans over with warm tales of recovery and winning the future. I'd love to share those, but the reality on the ground isn't, matching the, hey, we're at the beginning of a recovery. It doesn't talk about dangerous rhetoric. That would be it. The Fed can keep playing tricks to mask the real problems, but not for very long. Inflation. There's no masking the rising cost of inflation, is there? I mean, have you been to the grocery store? Here's what inflation is. A persistent, substantial rise in the general level of prices related to an increase in the volume of money and resulting in the loss of value of currency. Got it? First part, substantial rise in the general level of prices related to an increase in the volume of money supply. So if they weren't printing anything, and this orange juice here was $1, and then they started to print more money, the orange juice would cost more because there are too many dollars out there now trying to buy that one glass of orange juice. Well, is that happening? The experts say, of course not. Really? Well, let's look around the world. UK's inflation levels hit 4%. Eurozone's inflation levels jumped to 2.4%. And that ain't it. Experts are now predicting, and try this one on for size, that the new, and I'm quoting, the new luxury item in America will be this. Excuse me? Orange juice? They say factory prices, and problem with drought, factory prices could rise as much as 80% for orange juice and 60% for apple juice. Let me show you what is happening. The 6-month price percentage moves. This is 6 months. This isn't over a year. 6 months with just a few of the necessities. Here they are. Cotton is up 125%. 6 months. Sugar, 82%. Corn, 59%. Coffee, 41%. Rice, 40%. Let's look at some others. Oats, if you're a horse, panic. Copper, 36%. Lumber, you want to build a house? Up 33%. Put some gutters on it, why don't you? Or just have that old-fashioned thing called electricity. Oil, 25.1%. During that same 6-month stretch, what has the dollar done? The dollar has dropped by 6%. Every time we print more money, the value of your dollar that you have earned at work goes down, making the price go up. By the way, we are now the #1 buyer of our own debt. Oh, do you remember the old days? Old days when I told you this, it was about a year ago, I told you this, and everybody said, Glenn Beck's a fearmonger. Oh, there I am. Here I am, a year ago, showing who's buying our debt and what's going on. He's a fearmonger. That's crazy. #1. Let me tell you just about cotton. Let me show you a real-life example. This is cotton. Just in the last 6 months, cotton has gone up 125%. So you have to go out and buy a new shirt. This is a great shirt. This is a non-iron Brooks Brothers shirt. These are fantastic shirts. This shirt was 6 months ago $79.50. Today, it is $88. Here it is. But the real hidden trick is the hidden value of your dollar. It's like a hidden tax. The value in the same time of your dollar has dropped 6%. So you need to add another 6% to the cost of this because it takes more of your dollars to buy them. So it makes it not $88, but actually $93 for this shirt. Does that sound like a recipe for success? Especially when the government continues to spend and print. Again, did you tell Washington in November to increase or decrease the debt, taxes, and spending? Do you remember? Let me go back to the president's budget announcement today, which basically amounts to pouring gasoline right onto the fire. It is a $3.73 trillion budget. It is greater than the combined GDPs of France, Italy, and Ireland. Those 3 countries, everything they spend, everything they buy, everything they sell for an entire year is what this budget is. It will also be the biggest one-year debt jump in the history of mankind. $2 trillion of debt. For the man who said we have to get our deficit under control, he's not doing it. It's like golf, Mr. President. And you play a lot of that. Low score wins. Low score, not high score. He's tripled the deficit in 2 years. But now he says he's ready to slow it down. He wants you to believe that he's no longer going to spend. No, those days are behind him. Remember, this is the same administration that spent the last 2.5 years arguing that you had to spend in order to save the economy. Stimulus or death. It's the only way. And those, may I quote, those Tea Party people will destroy the country if they get in there and start cutting spending. Now, all of a sudden, he wants you to believe that he has the virtue of spending cuts down. Well, I'm going to go way out on a limb here and say, I don't think he believes that. Hey, something in my tummy says, I don't think so. Let's look at some of the real cuts. Because today is a new day. Maybe the president, the sky has opened up, and all of a sudden he's seen the light. Here he is today. Listen carefully.